Yesterday, someone asked me how do we program MX, and several of the speakers come from really interesting conversations that I've had in the prior year. And one of my favorites has been with Paul Hagen, when he's researching customer experience strategies as a principal analyst for Forrester Research's customer experience research team. He writes some blogs on experience strategies, both for B2C and B2B, on how to build organizational culture and customer experience leadership. I think he's an important new voice in our field, and we should all be listening to him. He's also refreshingly unbiased. He tells it pretty much straight in how it is, not with favoritism or allegiance to the UX practice. So, Paul, come tell us about the rise of the Chief Customer Officer.
Thank you very much. I couldn't have asked for a better collection of speakers to set me up. I feel like half of the topics have been already set up for me. Before I launch into this character, the Chief Customer Officer, as Janice was saying, the business community is waking up to user experience. I think it's more than that. They're waking up to customer experience, and it's not just about product design. It's about the entire experience with a brand, with a company. To give a little context to my, there we go. I wanted to just provide a little context. At Forrester, we cover two kinds of customer experience professionals. The first is on the digital side, and our heritage has been there. 10 years ago when I was with Forrester, we were doing website user methodologies, usability methodologies, and expert reviews. Since I've come back to Forrester about a year ago, we've expanded our practice and are looking at the entire enterprise, and increasingly this Chief Customer Officer, someone at a company, is thinking about the experience of customers across every single channel, across the web and all of the mobile tablets, all of the various different interactive channels that are happening. They're also thinking about the call center. And they're also thinking about the in-store experience, and they're thinking about the product design experience, and the use and adoption of new products and services. So when I'm talking about customer experience today, I am talking at the enterprise level. And when I'm talking about the Chief Customer Officer, I'm talking about that individual at the organization who is thinking about orchestrating it across all of those different places. And when I say customer experience, we define customer experience as how customers feel about their interactions with your companies. It's a perception. It's not about, I've created the best experience ever. It's, how do your customers feel about those interactions? It's not just about marketing. Marketing sets the expectations. Marketing in your brand sets some expectation of the value that someone is going to get out of your company and the products and services that you offer. And those expectations are impacted or influenced by external sources. It could be your competition, where other companies that people shop at or have experiences with. The customer experience professionals are focusing on delivering that value. So where the marketers and the brand set up expectations and communicate an image through a bunch of channels, customer experience professionals are focused on delivering that. And at the most mature companies, they're trying to marry those two things. Not necessarily all companies are mature in doing that. So the expectations outstrip what's actually being delivered. So what's the right customer experience strategy? Well, I love to use this example of Costco. Consider Costco versus an Apple. You couldn't get two more divergent companies in the kinds of experiences that they deliver. Costco, you walk in, big warehouse shelves, self-service, long lines, in exchange for incredibly low prices. Apple, incredibly innovative products, the Genius Bar, their sleek store. So which one should your company deliver? Should it be more like Costco? Should it be more like Apple? Or something entirely different? Before I answer that question, Peter, once again, set me up really nicely talking about the Customer Experience Index. What is a Customer Experience Index? It's Forrester's methodology for actually asking customers, how do they think about their interactions with a company? And based on our research, we ask about 7,000 consumers every year 3 questions. And it's a little bit like Maslow's hierarchy. At the very basic, it's Did those interactions provide you some sort of useful value? Were they effective? How easy was it? Because you can deliver a lot of value, but gosh, if I had to jump through hoops, that's going to impact my experience. So how easy, how usable, and how easy is it to access that value? And finally, how enjoyable was it? And I take this as a proxy for the emotional engagement. Because at the end of the day, it can be easy and it can be useful, but take it up a notch. So we use these 3 questions to formulate our customer experience index, and we rank companies every year on this index. And by the way, we correlate this index correlates very strongly to potential future behavior like recommending to a friend or desire to purchase again from a company. And what do we find? Actually, Costco scores really high on the list. In fact, higher than Apple. So Costco comes in 4. iTunes comes in at number 24. Still a very, very respectable score. It's a good experience. It's a great experience. And Apple comes in 77. Again, an excellent score. So how can that be? The 2 experiences, like, would you prefer going to Apple or Costco? The key is in the customer's perceptions. And the key is in the customer's perceptions based on that expectation of the value that they're going to get out of a company and the company's success at delivering on those expectations. What customers expect from Costco is very different than what they expect from Apple. And in this case, our customer experience index simply measures how well did the company deliver on that value expectation compared to other companies. And Costco does a better job. And in fact, lots of the low-cost leaders actually do quite a good job. What's really interesting in looking at the index by industry is there's a giant gap between those at the top and those at the bottom. So if you look in the hotels that score the highest, 83, big gap over 60 at the bottom end. If you look at the internet service providers, the top ones score 80 on our customer experience index versus the bottom at 46. Health insurance plans, 72 to 42. Anyone who's been to a dentist and got the little video machine and the ear cancellation headphones knows that while health in general may not be an enjoyable experience, but there are certainly experiences that are better than others. So huge gap between the high and low. And in fact, there are many companies who are seeking to take advantage of that gap because a 10-point difference in the customer experience score can add up to, in big companies, $1.7 billion in annual revenue. 63% are trying to differentiate themselves from other leaders in their industry. 13%, interestingly, are trying to differentiate based on customer experience from all companies anywhere. They want to be the best. And customer experience leaders, or those who are leading these initiatives within companies, are trying to improve their experiences across a whole lot of things. Multi-channel certainly gets a lot of attention, and companies are focused on improving that online experience. They're focused on improving the cross-channel experience. They're looking at mobile. They're looking at communities and social computing. They're looking at their stores and their call center agents and their phone service. They're doing a lot, spending certainly a lot of time in the online space, but in other channels and locations as well. What's interesting about the Customer Experience Index, I don't know if you noticed in the first slide, but 2 companies, Borders and Barnes & Noble, scored really highly. They were the top rated. Undeniably great experience, but they're also in financial trouble. What's interesting is Amazon, and for that matter, Costco and BJ's Wholesale, are also really high in that Customer Experience Index. What they've done is provided a great experience, but not a differentiated experience in terms of what some of the others. Others are providing a great experience at a much lower cost, and that can spell some disaster for a company. It's not just about customer experience alone. It has to fit in with a larger context. And certainly the digital disruption is massive in this particular industry, as it is many industries. Many industries are rethinking their fundamental business model in the wake of digital disruption. Certainly new challenges are making the customer interaction more difficult across the splinternet. Lots of different new user interfaces, tons and tons of different kinds of connected products. Products are not products anymore, they're products and services. And we certainly see that in terms of new opportunities. I actually love to look at companies about their iTunes or their Nike moments. What is it in your business where you're taking what were dumb products and creating an entirely new, different kind of relationship? I love it. This morning before this all started, I was talking with a machine equipment manufacturer that is thinking about its Nike moment. How does it manage forklifts? The guys are here somewhere. Fascinating story as they're trying to figure out how to create those relationships with forklifts. So tremendous set of new opportunities. Well, who is orchestrating all of this within companies? Increasingly, what we're seeing is a leader who is in charge of thinking about all of those various different relationships, and we call him the Chief Customer Officer. There are people like Wayne Peacock, who is the Executive Vice President of Client Experience at USAA, and John Costello, who's the Chief Global Customer and Marketing Officer at Dunkin Brands. Ingrid Lingberg, who is the Chief Experience Officer. Patty Van Lameren, the Chief Customer Officer at Allstate, Jeb DeSteel, Chief Customer Officer at Oracle, and Jim Merlino, who is the Chief Patient Experience Officer at Cleveland Clinic. They're increasingly sitting on the executive management board, so they can be very, very high up in the organization. They also go by a heck of a lot of different names, so finding these folks can be quite difficult. We did some research just looking at Hoovers and came across about 155 of those. Most of those end up being on that executive management team within companies. Chief Customer Officer was the most frequently used name, about 44%. Chief Client Officer is also very popular, and Chief Experience Officer. But it's really in the others that it gets a little bit interesting and trying to find these guys. They go by a whole lot of other names. Chief Customer Advocate is one that I actually love a lot. Sometimes they're mixing up a Chief Operating Officer and a Chief Customer Officer, which I find pretty interesting. Sometimes it's Chief Strategy, sometimes it's Chief Innovation. They go by a lot of different names. And by the way, they're not always chiefs. So they could, again, the Wayne Peacock is an executive vice president, sits on the 11-person executive management team at USAA, but is not called a Chief Customer Officer. He's a client experience guy. Why do companies appoint these folks? At first, when going into the research on this person, I thought it was going to be a lot about customer churn. We're bleeding customers. Our customers hate us. There's definitely that. Sprint was one example of appointing someone. They were hurting a lot and appointed someone. So customer churn is clearly one reason, but there are a lot of other reasons that we heard as well. A change in leadership. KeyBank brought in Beth Mooney as a new chief executive in their company, and she just came from a heritage that said, hey, customers are important, and she led the charge of creating a customer experience team, appointing a chief customer officer essentially, and started moving that cultural needle. Desire for accelerated growth. Fascinating. USAA, people love them. They've been doing well for years. Just last year, they appointed a chief customer officer. Why? They saw the opportunity to grow. We do things really inefficiently at USAA. We have these product silos. We have these organizational silos. We miss handoffs between sales and fulfillment, between fulfillment and customer service. We miss opportunities between this product silo, that product silo, the other product silo, when we could be dealing at a much higher level. Someone doesn't come to USAA just because they want car insurance. They're buying a car. We can finance that. We can help them buy a car. We can create a much bigger experience, and we can work more efficiently. Lots of opportunities for growth. That was a reason. hear this over and over again. We want to differentiate from our competitors and increase the gap. A reaction to competitive forces. Clearly, there are competitors enabled by many of the new technologies to get into industries that they weren't able to crack before. And so companies are recognizing they cannot compete on product innovation alone. Hear it over and over again. We cannot compete on product innovation alone. We have to be better about understanding our customers, working with our customers, and creating that bigger customer experience. And finally, the response to change is brought about by rapid growth. So what happens within many companies is we've grown a lot over the last 10 years. We've acquired 25 different companies. Who the heck knows what we're about? We've got silos up the wazoo, and we've got to deal with that. So there are clearly companies who are dealing with just the sheer acquisitions of various different companies. So. The chief customer officers they come in many, it's not just about big companies. Certainly many of the big billion-dollar plus companies that we looked at, 46% of them were in those kinds of big companies. But interestingly, 35% of the people that chief customer officer that we looked at were in smaller companies of less than 250 million. It's actually in some ways easier at a startup organization or a new company to have this kind of position. You don't have a lot of the baggage. I'll get into some of the baggage that companies face with this position in a minute. But coming from a bunch of different companies, and they go across a lot of various different industries. I actually thought retail was going to come up higher, but it was actually professional services, business services, consulting, advertising services, a lot of those kinds of professional services that were most representative in the group that we looked at. Computer, software, and hardware. Interesting, there's lots of chief customer officers in the software and hardware industries, focused mostly on post-sales customer success. But by the way, we've got a Salesforce person here. Salesforce does have a chief customer officer who's not really a chief customer officer. He's a chief sales officer. It's interesting because the position isn't always, it has that title, but you have to be really careful in looking at what their duties are and how they work. Interestingly, Salesforce has 4 or 5 people on their executive management team that if you look at them in a composite, they're a chief customer officer. And in that case, it's really Mark Benioff who's the chief customer officer there, their CEO. Financial services, transportation services, telecom, energy and utilities was one interesting one. We've seen a lot of energy and utilities industries folks thinking about customer experience. By the way, they offer generally a poor customer experience because they're largely a monopoly. And I got to thinking to myself, because I'm coming across these people, why are they worried they're a monopoly? Why would they worry about customer experience? If you think about those who are local, PG&E just got killed in the local ballot box despite spending $40 million on this last an election about aggregated demand. They're getting beat up at the ballot box and the legislative box. And so when you have a bad reputation, people don't like you in general. When you're trying to get stuff done, you can't because people don't like you. People don't trust you. People don't think you're doing anything in their best interest. So it's interesting seeing some of the utilities get into this space, probably for a very, very different reason than other companies, but similar anyway. Oops. It's new territory, but it's seasoned leaders. What we found was that about 55% of those, again, who we looked at were new to the position. They were in the position for only about a year or less. Another 27% have only been in the position about 2 years. Almost entirely, these guys are in the position for the very first time. There's never been a chief customer officer or a chief experience officer in the company before them. So they're creating new territory. And we've got client after client after client saying, we don't know what this is about. Help us figure out what's our program? How do we do this right? What are the lessons learned from those who are doing it? So there's a strong desire and need to learn. They're very new to the position. 83% were internal hires, and they were coming from people who have had, I think on the average, had about 8 to 9 years median experience within the company. So they've been at the company a long time. They've been in lots of different positions within that company. So again, when we did this research, I thought we were going to find a bunch of marketing people and people talking about the brand experience. It ended up being somewhat the case, but it was a little bit more diverse. People had been in 2 to 3 different senior level positions within the company. 33% had been division presidents or GMs. 31% were certainly in marketing, 31% from sales. Operations people were interesting. 24%, much higher than I thought. But people coming out of the tech realm, people who were CIOs, 12 years of building systems, seeing across the organizations, integrating across the organizations, rising through the ranks, coming up that way. 22% from service, 12% from IT. The organizations were quite different. I saw two kinds of organizations emerge around these chief customer officers and the kinds of organizations that they ran. One was an operational one. So if you look at Boeing Training and Flight Services, it's actually a fairly smaller division within Boeing, has a chief customer officer. He has got all customer-facing interactions, including marketing, sales, PR, business development, and customer support, all reporting up into him. 80 indirect reports up through 7 direct reports. USAA has got oversees marketing, sales, and service functions in all channels. He has mobile, he has web, he has all of the call centers, and has been consolidating those into one organization. These guys, in organizations where it's organized operationally like this, are almost like a COO of the customer-facing side. So where the COO may do back office operations, these guys are like the front office operations folks. And in some organizations, what we see is a chief, a CEO, a COO, a CCO, all working together like that in real tight coordination. The other kind of organizations that we see are advisory. USAA went through this stage and then took it up a notch to go operational. Tend to be younger organizations, small customer experience teams. Again, the chief customer officer is sitting at the executive management table, but they're acting in an advisory capacity to various different business units, to various different projects that are going on in the organization. KeyBank works this way. They have an executive vice president and director of client experiences. She's focusing on the client experience, the desktop experience for the agent, and information management, and then some of the strategic planning. So she wears a lot of hats and dedicates things out to this experience team. They're brought into projects where someone in a particular business unit is saying, we need to have that customer experience mindset and skills to bring to bear into whatever project that we're doing. We want to make sure we're thinking about the customer while we're doing this particular project. Interestingly, there are a couple of companies, Deluxe and Sodexo's Circles group. Their customer experience teams started out not internally, but in a B to B to C kind of realm. So Deluxe, for those of you guys who used to do the checks. Whenever you got checks at a bank, they were Deluxe checks. So their customers are banks. Consumers were the final end users, and they were helping banks to provide a better customer experience. So they were actually almost as a consulting service outside to create a better experience for their bank customers. Sodexo Circles is similar. I can't say how disruptive this CCO position is within companies. Giantly against the grain of just about everything the way companies are structured today. If you think about the inside-out nature of companies think of themselves from an internal business process perspective. You've got marketing, you've got sales, you have support, you have fulfillment. And in fact, within those processes, companies think about their own internal moments of truth. When do we have a lead? When has a lead turned into an opportunity? When is an opportunity turned into sales? And when does that sales opportunity suddenly become a problem and we've got a case to support, or a support case? Very, very different than what the CCO is thinking about. The CCO in these organizations and the customer experience teams are starting to bring an outside-in approach. What are the customers' processes? I don't think of myself as a lead or a sales opportunity or a case. I'm researching a product. I want to know what's the right thing to do. I want to buy it. I want to get some help on it. I want to share my experiences. So we're talking about the journeys, and I actually think of this customer process piece as a little bit of customer process optimization, which is the other side of the business process optimization. What are the interactions that are most important to customers? What's the customer's moment of truth as opposed to the company's moments of truth? Very different. Thinking about that person, the chief customer officer, trying to bring that into a company that's fundamentally organized not in that way. Inside out. Projects happen within companies because there's a business value. Oh yeah, and it's probably going to benefit customers, but I'm starting to think from the business perspective first. What the chief customer officer and his or her team are thinking about those moments of truth, those journeys, those moments of truth, and what's the customer value that then has a linkage to the business value. Inside out is thinking about the company's perceptions of the relationship versus the outside in is thinking about the customer's perceptions of those relationships. Wow, how they can be different. And companies all measure loyalty. We want to up loyalty. What if your customers are trapped? Can't get away, hate you, super loyal. I'm only there because of your prices, but I'm trapped. I'd go anywhere else if there was another option. And that companies get to that place and then they bleed customers. So understanding the customer's perceptions of the relationships, they don't necessarily have to buy more from you if they don't like you. And then finally, the inside out is very channel by channel. It's very business unit by business unit, and it's department by department. All of those different channels, business units, departments have their own set of metrics. They're operating in their own world. The chief customer officer and his or her team are thinking about the relationship across those channels. They're thinking across those departments and orchestrating that relationship across those silos. So super different approach, super difficult. Culture that is embedded and a structure that is embedded. So chief customer officers, it's a tough job, and this is not a new topic. In 2001, as I was doing this research, 2001 Wired talked about the rise of the chief customer officer. It's 2011. Yeah, we're seeing some traction, but that was 10 years ago that they were talking about this. Do they have hope? Don't know. But businesses are paying attention. There is a correlation here. Businesses are having some troubles. They're appointing these folks. Still a big climb. But some companies are making some progress. So how do they spend their time? They're evangelizing. 30 to 50% of these top executives are spending 30 to 50% of their time just trying to get people on that same page. People at USAA, culture loving, they are focused and honed in on treating their mission, which is treating those military families with dignity and serving them. But they've got these silos. They have those product silos. So getting over that and evangelizing what it means to everyone and everyone within their work is what these guys spend a lot of time doing. Establishing a clear understanding of customers. They are without a true understanding of what their customers want and need, without a credible a voice around the customers, these guys can't really make a case within an organization. So they're spending their time not just on surveys and so forth, but some of the ethnographic kind of research. What are those larger customer needs? What are those moments of truth and those journeys look like? So they're spending a lot of time understanding customers. It starts with some of the surveys, and certainly the Voice of the Customer program all of these guys, all of these teams are setting up voice of the customer programs. That's starting with surveys. We've seen the surveys everywhere. Quickly moving into unstructured data collection through either their mining, what's going on in, sounds like, right on. Looking at email and phone call transcripts and mining some of that data, establishing listening posts out in social media. So they're doing a lot in terms of establishing listening posts. As they get into, and some of what happens with the listening posts is you get into some of the Six Sigma and Lean. At the Six Sigma, let's get rid of defects, because that's what they find a lot of. As they get better, they start building this voice of the customer, this understanding of customers more broadly into personas. A lot of this stuff goes on in the digital world. Now we're thinking about personas at the entire enterprise level, and what is a customer life, who are our customers and what do they want at that deeper level? Mapping the journeys. What are those customer journeys, either within those moments of truth or across that entire life cycle? And again, these journeys look so different from the outside in than from the inside out. And that's what these guys are starting to bring to the table. Rosetta Stone tells some really great stories of understanding now who their learners are. It's not just someone wants to learn Spanish. I'm learning Spanish because one person's learning because I'm marrying a woman whose family doesn't speak English, and I need to learn some of it for the wedding. Or I was in a motorcycle accident and I'm rebuilding my brain. Or I want to take a job in Latin America and I have to get fluent at this. Wow, it's not just learning Spanish; it's fundamentally different, and different kinds of journeys, different kinds of personas, and they're getting deep into that, and their customer experience team is getting deep into that. Defining customer metrics. So who are my customers and what's important to them? How are we doing at those moments of truth? Their moments of truth, not our moments of truth. So understanding what are the customer metrics and my customers' perceptions of their interactions with my company that become leading indicators for those financial and business metrics. How am I doing as a company? At the end of the day, I got to stay alive as a company. But what are those important customer-focused metrics that I can push on? And if companies like Philips are actually putting customer metrics like satisfaction into their key performance indicators, one of their 5 key performance indicators is something like the Net Promoter Score. Not perfect, but it's a start. And then these guys are breaking down those silos. Those silos exist everywhere. They're the channels, the departments, the product lines. They're spending tremendous amount of time doing that. I find the lean stuff that talked about earlier as really, really interesting. I just was working with a group out of Denver that is actually putting a Lean Six Sigma person on their customer experience team as they're going through those journey maps to break down these silos and make those customer processes alive and get people understanding what they're putting their customers through. So they're spending a lot of time breaking down the silos. And at the end of the day, this isn't the customer. Every single one of these guys that I talked to said, you have to be numerate. This is not a kumbaya experience. It's not feel good. It's not about every customer. We have a value proposition to certain customers. Southwest is a fabulous example. Don Norman has got a great interview with the CEO of Southwest Airlines where he says, hey, you're not listening to your customers. You're not listening to your customers. They want food. They want baggage service, all of that. He says, no, they don't. They say they want it. Our value proposition is low prices. Will they pay an extra $50 for that? Sure, but that's not our customer base. That's not our value proposition out to those customers. Very, very cleanly focused on what their business strategy is and how that can translate into a customer experience strategy. Important to think about. The chief customer officers that we spoke to said be numerate, because if you're not numerate, you can't make the business case, you're going to be thrown out of the boardroom, you're going to be thrown out by, you're going to be overwhelmed by the VP of sales. At the end of the day, we have to make a business case. And we think there is a very strong business case, but you still have to make it. And by the way, there are lots of people in lots of different kingdoms who have vested interest in keeping the company the way it is today. They built their careers on it. And probably the biggest thing that we see out there is building the culture. None of this can happen without culture. I was on the phone with AT&T recently and had the most friendly customer service rep you can ever imagine on the phone. Super friendly voice, trying to help me, couldn't answer my 2 questions. I got to the end of the call and the guy asked, at AT&T, we aim not just to meet your expectations, but to exceed them. Have I done that today? I thought to myself, there is a company that doesn't quite yet get it, or it hasn't gotten into the DNA. Because you would not have asked me that question if you really got it. And more importantly, if your managers got it. Your managers would have enabled you to say, I haven't answered your question. Let me call you back in 15 minutes when I get the answer to those 2 questions. And then I'll ask you that question. Great stories like that. Culture is everything. And to Peter's point from earlier today, many of the companies, especially as they've gotten beyond just the basic levels of thinking about customer experience, are focusing on an employee experience and actually correlating that employee experience to customer experience. If our employees aren't happy, if they're not satisfied, if I haven't given them a bigger vision around what I'm trying to do, then we can't possibly do that out to our customers. If our employees can't cooperate with each other, if I don't have a team, can't possibly go and deliver what I want and break down these silos out to customers. So they're spending a tremendous amount of time building that customer-centric culture. Which all leads me to lots of user experience and customer experience people in the audience. How do you lead it? I pulled out a bunch of quotes from the individuals that we've talked at various different stages of their journey. Kathleen Cottrell, who's not a chief customer officer at this point, but is the vice president of branded customer experience at Time Warner Cable. We started building a grassroots movement. We started with 2 people and $2, and we were just passionate about it. We made people listen. We were very savvy about projects that we picked that were not only good for the customer, but were good for the company. And we just pitched it. We were passionate about it. We built a grassroots movement. We built a revolution, in fact, she says. Great woman from the 60s. I complained long enough about how we treated customers. Finally, the CEO told me to go fix it. You need to work to establish what it means daily in the hearts and the minds of leaders and individuals. I've seen people take CD recordings from the call center and give executives a CD to listen to weekly in the car. I love Undercover Boss. Fantastic. Getting executives out into the field and dealing with customers is great. So working to establish what it means daily. I had to move my team from an obsession on tablecloths and candles to what's really important to clients. I love this. You can build a great experience, but it's just like a product. You can build it, but they may not come. What's important to customers? Are tablecloths and candles? Maybe tablecloths and candles are important to customers. Maybe they're not. Hit those basic needs, make it easy, and then think about how you can put that emotional piece on top of it. But make sure it's in line with what they want and need. It's important to them. Ultimately, what we're doing is ultimately, we're not doing customer experience work to sing Kumbaya. It's a good business model. Be a good number person, or you'll get clobbered by the CFO or the VP of sales, who are numerate. That I talked about. And we need to quit competing with our competitors, but figure out how to move into blue ocean. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to as well, is we're just benchmarking ourselves against our competitors and not thinking about the bigger opportunity that's there. So with that, I don't know if I've got any time for questions. We're running late, so probably not the case, but I will be here in the break as well. So I won't hold you up any longer. Thank you very much.